What's going on, everybody? You know who it is. This is Austin, aka More Than an Agent, and this is the Real Estate Blueprint Podcast here with my co-host Jon Soto. Soto, what's up, boss?
Going on, man? Good going on. Good to see you again, man.
All is love, all is love. We're gonna jump into today's episode. This one's an interesting episode. Today's episode is on the importance of partnerships on your real estate journey as we get into more unprecedented times that we're seeing in the real estate market, especially with things getting a lot more pricier in certain areas. And we would be remiss to say that, partnerships is pretty much how we were able to get to this point and what we're looking to do going forward. And the reason why we wanted to bring this episode up is because a lot of people, at least, and Jon, you can attest to it, when people come speak to me, usually they're like, I only, hey, Austin, I have this, I have that. Can I go get a mortgage? I have this much in my savings. I make this amount, my credit's like this. What can I do? And normally, if they can't qualify themselves, then that's it, right? Like they've completely thrown out the idea, unless it was like family and they were planning on maybe doing something together. But aside from that, just like a regular individual, they usually throw the idea out and it's like, whoa, like you can still get it done. Like, just I want people to understand, and then we'll jump into just breaking down partnerships, what that looks like from a mortgage standpoint. People don't have to have everything like by themselves. This is why like teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
don't have to have everything. Find like money and credit are the two biggest things that you need. It doesn't have to be yours. Those are just the two things that you need in order to get your loan from the bank. So let's talk about that in depth, where you've seen people use partnerships, or give us your examples of how somebody who may not have the credit but has the income can partner with somebody that does have those things.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a saying. Of course, I'm a hatchet, botcha, whatever you call it. You can only basically go so far alone. You could definitely always go farther with a team. So it's good to learn the ropes at the beginning by yourself. But then once you're maxed out, you're stuck there, and people don't really like to ask for help. Of course, my culture, a lot of cultures, we were built to not talk to strangers. So just that mentality of not talking to strangers, everyone was a stranger once in a lifetime. Me and you, we were strangers once upon a time.
Right.
But you would never have friends if you have that mentality. Of course, there's certain people in the world you stay away from, of course. But if you have the same mindset and the same interests, why wouldn't you connect with a stranger to make them a friend and possibly a business partner?
Right.
With partnership, when it comes to a mortgage, depending on what mortgage you get, you can, let's say an investment property, only investment property, putting 25% down. You guys are both on the deed, of course. One person can put the cash up, the other person can have the credit and the income. And then both of you on the deed, but only one person has the actual debt in their collateral, in their liabilities. So that's one way of going about going on a mortgage. If you go on an LLC, commercial loan, of course, you both can be on the LLC, and the LLC owns the property. That's probably a easier way to go, less headaches down the road. When it comes to income, if one person doesn't qualify by themselves, you can add another person to the scenario, and then both of you combined can possibly buy that specific property. Especially now with the market, you said prices continue to go up, and there's been predictions that we're going to continue to see that for many years to come. I think there was an average estimate that people are going to have 90K in equity for your average price home. Average price home in US is 350. So you can have 90K if you buy that today and hold it for 5 years. That's a rough estimate. Of course, if you have a higher price range, you may be able to get more equity if you buy in a good area where there's a lot of construction development going on. That may be even more equity. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, that people trying to steer away from buying real estate now because of the rising rates, because of the prices keep going up. But the longer you wait, the more people you may need to buy that specific home, or it's going to be too far-fetched. You're just going to be completely discouraged.
Does credit, like when two people are going after a loan together, and let's say credit-wise, right? Because credit is something that stops a lot of guys and gals here. So two people, you know, one individual has great credit, the other one does not have great credit. If they come on a conventional 20% down investment loan, or say if they want to use FHA for their, first multifamily or first single family home, if two people are going on the property together from a credit standpoint, one has great credit, one has not so great credit. Does the person that doesn't have great credit put the deal at risk? Are you going to still be looking at the individual who has the lesser amount of credit, or are you only going to focus on the individual that has the better credit? So when it comes and is that the same question, but apply it to income?
So when it comes to credit and FHA, we'll look at the lower of the two scores, unfortunately.
FHA, okay.
Yeah. So I always tell my clients, credit, we can fix. Income, you can't really get a 50K raise in 2 days or in a month or 3 months, but credit is temporary. Of course, you can use it to your advantage and always bring it back up so you can actually leverage your credit. So when it comes to credit, you can definitely pay stuff down, manipulate your credit to increase in a certain way. So that's always temporary. If someone has a lower credit score, we can definitely bump them up to get to the minimum credit score. Of course, unless there's some bankruptcy involved or certain things that will take longer. So you can't really buy a home unless 2 years to 3 years after the discharge date when it comes to bankruptcy, depending on the bankruptcy. As long as you don't have anything with that within your credit, you can definitely buy something soon, because most people credits is either late payments, credit utilization, collections. If you pay stuff down to a certain percentage, it will definitely boost your credit up right away.
So, all right, so for conventional, they'll take the higher? No, they'll still take the lower.
The lower as well. When it comes to like commercial loans, sometimes it's average. So it'll be like the average of the two. Okay,
so both FHA and conventional, they'll take the lower. Okay, and then for income, because like you mentioned, it's a much easier picture. And the income, obviously combine the two. They'll combine the two.
It will combine both income and both debts.
And okay, very, very interesting point. So that's for everyone that's listening, when you are going on as either a co-borrower, or even if you two are going in as a partnership, you're going to share both the income and the liabilities. So for example, as John just mentioned, say if you're an individual that just had, $30,000 a year, but you were really eager, you had some savings, your credit was a 600, 620, you're still able to purchase a home. I want to make that very clear. Now, debt to income ratio will play in a part of that. So 30,000 isn't much, right? And it limits your opportunity to have a lot of debt on a monthly basis. But you still, in theory, if you had no debt, let's say you were staying at home with your parents, 30,000 entry-level job, you've been there for 2 years, decent 650 credit score, you're actually kind of better off than the individual that already has a house and has that debt like that is going against them, even though they may be making a higher income. But all that to say that if that was your financial position in its current state, and you can only afford, say, a $250,000 house, but you knew multifamilies in your area were in the 500,000s, you can bring on a partner to help you help you qualify for that. However, you're looking at the income, you're like, okay, they make $100,000 a year. You're like, perfect. This, combined will be at $130,000 a year. And their credit is at a 780 credit score. So they're an amazing candidate. But their debts on a monthly basis, they got a $1,000 G-Wagon car note, right? They got a $1,000 G-Wagon car note. They got
G-Wagon will be a higher car note.
So no, they put a lot down. They put a lot down. They still got the $1,000. Still got the $1,000, right? They got a $4,000 mortgage because they live in a beach house property. Long story short, those debts are also going to be counted against you and your team. So although combined now you are at 130,000, you now are also at, say, 9,000 or 8,000 as far as minimum monthly payments that are going out on the debts that your partner is bringing to the table. So that's a good point on something to keep in mind just when you're forming these partnerships, at least to take down, deals that might be too expensive or deals that you wouldn't normally qualify for on your own. So that's great input on it. And it's ironic because this is exactly like how we started, and it's funny. We'll talk about this story, like you'll hear this story often, just about like how like me and Jonathan met. But to like Jonathan's point of not, especially in our culture, which this is the podcast, and we are branding ourselves as the podcast for the Black and brown community, straight laced. Like that's just, it is what it is, and we're giving you the blueprint to our specific cultures and to our demographic. For that reason, to give out the game. But to Jonathan's point, total strangers just happened to reach out to me like, hey, listen, like, we're both doing the same thing. Like, let's just link, let's just connect, over lunch. Let's just keep talking. And that's exactly how it started. And then we found out that we were going to Paris at the same times with our significant others. We wound up linking in Paris. The rest is history. And now, here we are. We're doing deals and we're providing the context. But all that to say, and going into the next topic that I want to talk about is, this is where we're going, but this isn't how we started. We would be remiss to say that we started just with our own finances, our own individual credit profile. I couldn't get a loan when I first quit my job and got into the business, simply because as a 1099 independent contractor entrepreneur, you need 2 years tax returns in order to be able to go to the banks and apply for a loan, at least when you're going FHA conventional, the normal route, I'll say, the normal route. But that just wasn't the case. So luckily, like with my wife and partnering with my wife, we were able to scale, so on and so forth. And Jonathan, I think that was the same case, at least for you. But just talk about that. Like, did you know that, was it premeditated that you were going to start off as a partnership to go on or to start? Or was it like my scenario where like, I was like, well, I can do this. And they were like, actually, no, you can't. And I was like, well, what do I have to do? And they were like, well, you got to do this. And then it was like, all right, now I know what to do.
Yeah. So I was once again into real estate, of course. I wanted to have my money work for while I'm sleeping, basically. So right when I started, at first, I was gonna buy my first multi, me and the missus, before we got married. So I was speaking to strangers, picking their brains, getting more information, people actually doing real estate. They gave me the great idea. If you can qualify by yourself, why would you guys both get on the same loan? Why don't you buy one and then she buy one? Took that nugget, ran with it, and kept recycling it.
It's so funny because when I originally was when we were originally getting set up, wifey just happened, mind you, like I was a guy in real estate, and wifey just happened to mention like why don't we do one in each other's names? And I was like, you can do that? Let me find out if you can do that. Like, let me just make sure that you can do. And called up a couple of heads, and they were like, no, like, yeah, you can definitely do that. And I was like, yo, that's genius. Like, absolutely, let's do it. Like, we put the first one in her name, the second one in my name, so on and so forth, and pretty much just ping pong back and forth. But just to reiterate that, like, even scaling where we are now, which combined, I think we're at 35 units. I think you're at what, like 18,
40,
19?
Yeah.
You're at 18, 19. I'll be at 16 shortly if this deal goddamn closes. But, we didn't scale that by ourselves. And obviously, like, we tapped into this to start. And I can only imagine that, some people are doing this themselves. While the profits are split, I guess you can call it, or whatever the case, like, it's all for the household. So, and a lot of people are doing it themselves. I always say, like, if you can do it yourself, especially on the 4 units and under, if you can do it yourself, especially for the first property, if you can do it yourself, do it. If not, you don't have to want to do it all by yourself, right? Because then you might be stopping yourself, from purchasing for another year, or like, okay, when my credit or when my income gets up, or when I pay this car loan off, that might not be for another year or another 8 months or another 2 years. But the reality is, like, real estate prices are going up by the second. And if you want to take advantage in what seems to be still a rising market, you don't have to kick that can further down the line. You have the opportunity to find out who's willing to do things with you now, because you want to get that experience now. Don't delay the experience. Don't delay the gratification. At least if you're able to, have it like now, right? Like, delayed gratification is only when you're working on the process to get said gratification. It doesn't make sense to delay the gratification if you can experience the gratification, like, of whatever you're looking to obtain, like, right now, but just need to switch your focus. So all that to say, like, and I, at the beginning of the show, made it a preface of where I'm going to kick John and myself in the ass, is that, and we were talking before the show, is that we're going to have to revisit partnerships. And here's what we mean by that. Like, we've been able to scale, like, with our wives and our significant others, whoever your current business partner is, whoever that is, right? Like, you might have, eventually you're going to hit that ceiling, and partnership is automatically going to have to come into play. I don't know if this might be you're just trying to do, a couple of 3 families, 4 families, so on and so forth. But now that we've gotten our portfolios to where, where we like it, and of course we still do those deals, that our appetite is now full or somewhat full off of that type of portfolio, those types of properties. So now what's going to get us out of bed and what's going to, like, really fill us up with energy are the much bigger deals, which in those cases are definitely going to require some form of partnership in and of itself. So, like, what's your plan? Do you still do are you still gonna pick up the 4 units and under? Are you still gonna pick those up? When do you I like to say, where attention flows, focus goes, and goals show up? What's your plan? You gonna stay on the low end and still look on the bigger ones, or are you gonna, like, cut it off and then say, no, I'm only going to do 8 units and above from now on? Like, I'm not going to look at a deal less than 8 units.
So before I get into that, I want to touch base on the partnership aspect. So you're going to have to, you may not pick the right partner the first time around. We both got lucky. It was a significant other. But of course, during those transactions, it was always clashing. I'm sure you probably have a relatable story when it comes to your significant other didn't want to start off with a multifamily, or didn't want to live in the multifamily because FHA required you to live there for at least 1 year. So definitely keep that in mind. We're not breaking any rules. We're not doing anything like that. We're buying the property, living for a year, and then we're moving on to the next one. So emotion's gonna get involved. Sometimes your partner is not gonna see the big picture. That's why it's always good to have more set of eyes on a specific property. Maybe you're gung-ho on a certain aspect of the property, which may not be beneficial to both liking. So you definitely got to be on the same page. Sometimes if you know this is the right decision, you sometimes got to be a little stubborn and not ignore your partner, but try to see them, help them see the light. Because of course, after the after fact, of course, they're going to see it when you see the income, the equity, the appreciation, everything that's going on. But during the struggle, during what you have to go through to get those properties and live in those properties and maintain tenants, maintain repairs, a lot of people see the stress right now and aren't able to overpass that stress now. So that's something you really got to gun home, fix on your mindset, work on your mindset, always reading, always learning, always networking, always talking to strangers, and just keep learning. So if your significant other or your partner isn't understanding him, I was stubborn as a mother.
Right.
So you have to stick to the goal and try to explain the best you can to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
That's a funny point, because like you have to want it for yourself first. Like you have to want it for yourself first. Like your partnership won't matter if, like, not to say if somebody wants it more than you, but if someone wants it more than you, then they're probably going to another partner in theory. Like you have to want it so much that like you're going to do it yourself, and then whoever like partners with you, like they're going to see the benefit, to your point.
Yeah.
And the only reason why they're going to feel comfortable with you is if you have a track record that's proven, right? Like if we came into a deal right now, we needed to raise 100,000, you know, if we came up with 50, 75 ourselves and just needed to raise the 25, like just from our Instagram, like we could do that, right? Like people know that we're doing this, right? The partner now, the deal that I'm doing now is one of my sorority sisters, because we're I couldn't qualify for myself because I didn't file taxes for last year at that point, or the previous year at that point of me getting into contract. So I had to have somebody that had a W-2, and my wife couldn't because she has too many properties in her name. So literally I went on Instagram. Literally, you can find your partners on Instagram. It's like I need people to understand it. So put it out there. Wasn't looking for anybody in particular. They did. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking for the person in particular, meaning like I wasn't going to, like, because I knew that I had to have somebody that didn't own any property, right? So I went on Instagram and literally put it out there and said, hey, listen, like I got this opportunity. Here's what the numbers, here's what the numbers look like. Here's what your investment will look like. If you're interested, give me a call. Spoke with a couple people, 6, 7 people, and then wound up landing on the individual that like we're about to close, right? But there was no conversations prior to about like, yeah, we've been working on, like, I can't wait to eventually partner. Like there was none of that. So he just had enough interest here. Obviously, when we had the relationship to start, but no type of like premeditated. It was like, yo, here's the opportunity, here's the deal. If you're interested, let me know. And people are interested in that. We have not yet closed the deal, so we'll see how the partnership works when we get there. But all that to say, like, you still, to get the deal done is one thing, and then you can have your operating agreement about how things will look after closing. But I'm glad that you brought that up, especially like for significant others who don't always see eye to eye.
What is it? Luck is when what meets opportunity? What is it? Experience meets
preparation.
Preparation meets opportunity. So you always be prepared. Opportunity is always going to come. So as long as you're prepared, you have your credit, you have your income, there's opportunities all over. You just gotta go grab them. Because a lot of people always say, okay, I want to get into this. Opportunity passes by them. They get scared. One little hiccup happens. You know what? I get the next one. Another opportunity comes. They see it. They just see it. They stare at it. They stare at it. They let it pass by again. So if you're going to get into, be serious. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be, you might be stressed here and there, but stress is temporary. Focus on the end, have the end in mind. and then you can get through a little bit of that stress. So back to you said the plan. What's my next planning for next? So of course I'm gonna Ohio next month.
Oh yeah.
Check out some stuff.
To the dark side.
I'm going over there. I definitely want to do out of state. I want to do some partnerships. Throughout the course, I've met some people that are doing other type of deals in real estate. So assisted living, I think it was, or something like that. Renting rooms. There's a lot of cash flow in that. So I want to check out the area, check out everything, see how that goes. I definitely want to do more of that sharing space. So the Airbnb, the car sharing space, because with things opening up, people are going to travel more. Newark Airport definitely is expanding, new terminal, more flights, more people going to come in. Those people got to stay somewhere temporarily. They're going to need something temporarily. Now it's a car, so if people need to go on a IKEA run or grocery shopping run or see their significant other in another state or whatever the case is, they're going to need to rent that car and bigger deals. So definitely commercial loans with 6+, 8+, probably minimum 10, depending on the area. Of course, if you're going out of state, different price per unit, as long as it cash flows. So I wouldn't be so focused on appreciation in some of those areas for now, of course, but definitely focus more on that cash flow, because cash flow is always king.
I would love to see if there's a, I'm trying to see if, I was just trying to Google, like, if we're back to, because how these prices are looking, I'm looking like, are we back to normal travel, moving around like we were before COVID? Like, are we back to those levels? And at least from the articles that I'm just briefly browsing on Google, it doesn't look like we'll get back to that until like late 2022 or maybe, you know, going into 2023, which is interesting because yes, I think, you know, I mean, I got, aside from this Omicron variant that's coming out or whatever Delta, or I don't know which, I don't even know which alphabet.
I don't follow the names. I don't follow the names either.
Whichever, the theta, like once theta comes out, like I guess like we'll know like where we stand on this. But I like the sharing aspect of it, or the room sharing aspect. So definitely let me know how that goes. But yeah, Cleveland's definitely the very easy way to dissect like your travels there. There's the east side and then there's the west side. Most of everything development wise is like happening on the west side, but the east side is ripe for, so, or the easy is like west side is more A and B territory, and then east side is like C and D territories. Okay. As a general rule, again, like there's plenty of sections that you'll definitely feel comfortable in, but just cheaper price point and you start to go into the Midwest. The one question, so it looks like you still are going to do the smaller multifamily in as well, or like,
it depends. So if it's like something like in a touristy area like Airbnb, I'll do the smaller. But if it's outside of that, working class, not a touristy area, it would be bigger units.
Cleveland has, you know, I think Cleveland has properties for like, I mean, like 10 units for like 350,000.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like rents are lower, all about cash flow, but just like being able to scale where unit wise, more units, which is why like and the more units, the goal, the reason why it's interesting, like the goal is units. It's very weird because each unit that you have, I don't want to call it a share, right? But safe to say that each unit has the opportunity to go up for the most part, like rent wise. They rarely like go down. And as you can see with all the articles, like rent isn't going down, right? Especially as these home prices keep going up and up and up, rent's definitely going up. Each unit, right, as the rent goes up, is pretty much like your share, but you're touching those shares on a monthly basis in the form of like cash flow. My goal has now, like, I've looked at it totally different now because, you know, usually it's like more problems. I mean, like more money, more problems.
Mhm.
It's interesting how like when you shift your mindset and it's just like, no, like actually like more problems, more money. And it's like, it's interesting where like now, like I don't, of course, like I want all my tenants paying on time. I'd be naive to think that like out of like 100 units, every tenant's gonna be paying on time. So 90%, like I'm just like 90% like non-delinquency rate. 90% of the tenants are paying good money, good money, good money, good money. But it's interesting now, like at this point, like the goal is now like, yeah, I'm just trying to have as many people owe me money as possible, like via the lease. Like that is like, that's my new, like, I don't want to say like listing agreement, but like in the grand scheme of things, when somebody signs this, they sign up to pay me. Like whether they pay or not, obviously, like, you know, but you still are signing something that legally binds you to pay me.
Mhm.
And the more of those that I have, like God forbid, even if I do have to go to court, if I do have to blah, blah, you know, if I do have to put judgments and so on and so forth, like somebody's going to owe me money. And the longer that I put like, the more of those that I have, like the less that I could see how I could fail in those particular scenarios.
Yeah.
And it's funny to finish up on that, like obviously just with and it's funny because on the partnerships, the mix in personalities is actually beneficial.
Yep.
Because I would love for somebody to run the properties the total opposite of how I am personality wise. Because it's because my personality does not fit for a hard-nosed position where that has to, you know, you have to have that type of personality for property management. Which now, although I've had to tap into that, and it's funny because now the tenants are like starting to do what they're supposed to do, ironically, when you like gotta slap them around. But to start in general, I would rather have somebody like my wife is a lot more hard-nosed, right? She just doesn't like managing the properties because that's just not like she's not on board to manage the properties, right? So, but all that to say that the mix in personalities can actually definitely like not actually is definitely more beneficial when you're highlighting the necessary attributes to run the properties correctly, and then if both personalities mesh to fit that. You don't obviously want to be clashing for no reason. You want to be clashing with good intent. So,
Yeah, because there's been plenty of times where I lean towards the more lenient aspect to benefit the tenant, but then partner like, nope, shut it down. Nope, from the lease. I'm like, you weren't there though. I had the conversation. You know what? You're right.
That's how it starts. And the next thing you know, your tenant they can slide on the late fee.
Yeah. So partnership is good. Make sure you pick the right partner, have the operating agreement, have your roles in place, split the task. If someone, and of course the profits, make sure you have that up front and you'll have less issues, if any.
All right, man. As we let's jump into the core four here as we start
Let's do it.
our descent here. These are the core four questions that we rapid fire every single episode just to keep ideas fresh, keep the reasons why we do this at the forefront. So that way you also know why we do this and why it could also help you out as well. We'll start with the first one. Give me a new favorite aspect about real estate that you love and enjoy.
Love for favorite aspect about real estate that I enjoy. There's so many different avenues. There's so many different avenues within real estate. You can do long-term, short-term rentals. You can do renting out rooms, assisted living. You can help senior citizens. You can help people that have been like in domestic violence cases. You could put them like in rooms, help them out, give them a new start. So at the end of the day, everyone needs a place to live. Some people may have an easier way to find a place to live, and others may have a very difficult time. Because right now I'm actually dealing with one, I kind of evicted them, maybe not, it's one of the properties I manage. She has what is it called? A guarantee? No. I don't know. The state basically handles the money. I forgot the name of that. So I gave them until March 31st. Like they gotta find her a home because she's been there for so long. You've been saying for a year that you're gonna find her a home. They finally got her home, but it was someone that was living with her, and he has no money. So he found a actual room to stay. He's gonna pay monthly, so that's gonna help him out. Get on the street. He wanted to stay in the basement, like that's not legal. It's cold down there. No, that's not gonna happen. So he's actually found a room. So he's gonna move out this next week. But so many different avenues of real estate. You don't have to stick to one. You can diversify, short term, long term. If you're doing rooms, of course, you got to make sure you have the proper documentation for that because you can't just do rooms. Yeah, that's my favorite part.
I love it. My new one for this episode will just be that, and it's ironic, but I'm always working. And here's what I mean by that. No one wants to be. No, I don't want. Well, obviously, it's not healthy to always be working, like, and that's physically impossible. But what I mean by that is that even when I'm out being social and things like that, like you're still working. So you're able to blend what you normally would do, but still have the opportunity to make a profit. If you're getting food and drinks with friends and colleagues and so on and so forth, you can also get food and drinks with your clients or potential clients. Or, if you're going out to a wedding or a party or, whatever outing, conversations will always come up just about real estate. And it's an awesome way to, one, stay in front of people, and two, be able to conduct and talk about business out of a regular office setting. And if you love what you do, like I do, then it's never, it doesn't feel like work. You're always working, but it doesn't feel like work because it's so organic and natural to what you're already doing, So that's that's this episode's favorite aspect about real estate. Number 2, give us another business or personal development book that you recommend.
I'm actually reading a book now. I think it's called Red Handed. Hold on.
Okay.
Red Handed. Yeah. So basically it's called Red Handed. How American elites get rich by helping China win. So it's very, very, very interesting book, how the Bidens been connected with the politicians over there in China, where his son is like running some type of security gig, and they basically do favors for each other, and they're both winning financially. So he has some huge deals in China, and then also with Twitter, with Elon Musk, Bill Gates. He actually did some type of agreement there that he had to send a whole bunch of jobs to China. Yeah, interesting. It's interesting. It's a lot of back. It's a pretty interesting book.
I can imagine. I mean, yeah. Then again, poor people vote, rich people lobby. So I've seen what people would do. I've seen what agents would do over an $800 rental check. So I can only imagine, like, when millions and billions are like in the midst of it.
Yep.
Like one of my big bros always tells me, like, everybody has a price. Like, where morals, morality, ethics, where they come into play. Not to say that you're going to do everything for anything, but like there's eventually going to be a price where you're like, all right, no, I can't, I'm not gonna, right? But it still makes you like ponder. And not to say, again, like, not like crimes or whatever the case, but like, you don't want to work that job, but if they offered you 50,000 more, would you work that job? Some people are like, yeah, like I'll do it. Like, so that's what I mean by it.
I even add to that a time and price. So it could be a specific price where you don't need the money and you won't do it. But if you're struggling trying to make ends meet, that same price, you would change your mind.
Yeah. Gosh. Here's a book that I'll pick for this week. Slight Edge. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I think Jeff Olson, something like that. But long story short, it's a very, very habit-based book, and it's a very, very one brick at a time builds the wall. And it's it's so interesting that like, so that's what I'm working on for this year, where like marketing wise and for my marketing machine, like I'm starting off small, but like each month I'm adding one thing to the marketing machine, but in a capacity that I can handle it. But at the same time, just focusing on just doing those small, tiny, repeatable, mundane, actionable steps that eventually turn into, you know, whatever you are looking to accomplish. It just starts with the brick a day. So a pretty good book. I haven't read it in a while, but it was one that stuck out because you'd be surprised just how the simple things done time on task over time uh, yields great results. So Slight Edge, love it. And even when I'm thinking about like portfolios, like it was one property at a time. And even still, like I would love to generate the system where like, I'm buying 2 houses a month, like some people are, like where they're literally buying 2 houses a month. And the reality is like, you're gonna work up to that point, and it still doesn't negate that the one property at a time still got you to 4 homes, 5 homes, 6 homes, right? So yes, great book.
Yep. It's a great book.
Okay.
I hope they had it
Number,
on Audible, but I think I read that physical, right?
yeah,
Don't have it Audible.
I'm gonna experiment between the two, whether I'm more of a visual learner or auditory learner.
For me, it depends on the book. If it's more like documentary style, I like Audible
mhm.
because some of those documentary books, like the Will Smith and the Obama one I recently read, was like 25 hours. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Will's book is a big book. Wifey got it for me for Christmas. It's still on the
it's
shelf.
dope. It's dope. But yeah, get the Audible. You'll run through. It's dope how he started. How of course he had to go through some type of adversity. His mom was trying to not put him into acting. She wanted to go to school. His dad actually stepped in. He said, "No, you know what? I'll give you a year." He blew up.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what happens when you put a constraint on it. And yeah, like I got to get 2 more deals accepted before the end of this month.
Boom,
So
right there.
want to have an open house this weekend, so that one, and then I got to get one more just to like the compound effect. So especially in March, because now we're starting to get in the spring market, April, May, June, like it's gonna be hot. So okay, cool. Question number 3. Some more fun things that you like to do in your spare time when you're not out lending, doing Turo, Airbnb, hanging out with the
So
kids, fun thing.
I think last episode I said foodie, so I'm not saying that again. So I definitely like exploring new towns, new cities. I'm going to Ohio next month, so that's something I want to start doing with the family. So we actually added every holiday we're gonna experience it somewhere else in a new city. We want to
Love it.
see what other people do for like Christmas. So the Christmas that just passed, we was in Chicago. Next month, we're gonna go to Ohio. I definitely want to be overseas. Now, I don't know if it's this holiday or next holiday, but I definitely want to experience overseas for the holidays to see how, of course, it'll be a little different, but I definitely, that's something that we want to start doing more of. Road trips too, and it's cool. If it's something local, road trip. If it's something far, of course, flying.
And that's why we have the careers that we have and are buying the properties that we're buying to literally buy back more time and to buy back that freedom to do things like this. My fun for this week, I'll make it nice and easy, which you can see probably all over my social media, but I'm an avid runner. So the same way that like every holiday you want to experience something new, something different. Each marathon that I run at this point, like I want to do it in a different country or a city, which gives, kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You get to run a marathon, which is awesome, just feat in itself. And then you're able to travel. So this year we're gonna do. Now I'm going to run. Wifey's coming to have fun, but we're gonna do South Africa this year, which will be very
Nice.
interesting.
That's dope.
Yeah, awesome. So hopefully my boy comes with me, and because we made a pact that we were gonna run in different locations in different cities. So hopefully he can still make the trip. which he has every expectation to. And we're excited for it. So that's what I love to do. That's how I get my exercise and my mobility in. So when I stress out over these deals, and yeah, avid runner, avid marathon, I love it. Shout out to Black Man Run, which is my running group. Uh, yeah, it's awesome. They also have the I forget what the I think it's either Latin Men Run
Oh yeah,
or but there's the equivalent. Y'all have the exact it's the equivalent. We do events and group runs
nice,
with them every now
nice.
and again, a couple times out of the year. But yes, the whole entire Black and Brown community, especially where culturally, health is definitely a big thing
Hmm.
for us, and that's my way of staying as healthy as possible because I still got terrible eating habits. So we're working on it. We're working on it. I'm trying to go vegan like my man Soto here, but we'll see what happens. But that's my thing. Last but not least, Soto, can they find you at?
They can find me on Jon Does Real Estate, JON Does Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, I believe. I should use it more, but I don't. TikTok, everywhere, all social media platforms.
Awesome. And y'all know me, Austin, aka More Than the Asian. You'll find it just like that on pretty much all the social media, More Than an Agent _ and we're out here. This is the Real Estate Blueprint Podcast, signing off.